All right, folks, we're here with another episode with the amazing Morgan Hampton. I am insanely honored to talk to such an incredibly talented artist and writer that has done so much for Green Lantern. And reading these few issues so far, it's already struck a good chord. So I'm excited to chat with you today, man. It's going to be an honor.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, cool. Dude. So I read these 3 issues, man,
Yeah.
and I guess I want to start with. What got you into Green Lantern? Where did this interest start, or this passion kind of begin?
Yeah, I think for me, we're probably close to the same age. I'm in my early 30s.
Okay, I'm 26, 25.
Okay, yeah, so you're a little younger than me. But I grew up on the Green Lantern, or the Justice League TV show.
Okay, yeah.
So like, I was familiar with comics before then, but like, it was really the TV shows like that and the Teen Titans show and all that really really ingrained me into like just the universe.
Yeah.
So because of that, like John Stewart was like my kind of introduction to who the Green Lantern was, or what the Green Lantern Corps was, and all that. Of course, as I grew up, like when I was in high school, was when Jeff Johns was doing his run. So like Blackest Night and all that, and that blew my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started with the TV show. I think just making these characters accessible to a generation it wasn't reading as much, watching Saturday morning cartoons, and then that led me back to the comic books.
Yeah.
After the fact. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I feel like, and again, being at such a young age, there's so many different perspectives that you can kind of pull from like the different characters. Like there's so many, I know so many different people that resonate with the different characters for so many different reasons,
Yeah.
And I always like to dance around and think about the different things that they have to offer, right? And sort of Hal with his like boldness and not thinking about stuff, and Kyle being the creative, and John having this very like militant and sort of structured style. And so I want to know from your perspective as a writer, like what you think John kind of brings to the table, like being such a strong, formidable character and real, icon in Green Lantern history.
I mean, I think you kind of said it. It's that militant perspective. It's that calculated perspective, because he's an architect as well.
Yeah.
So I think like John, in so many ways, has to know every which way a scenario can go before he even makes a decision. And I think I'm kind of like that myself.
Yeah.
I think I grew up very sheltered. I have a bleeding disorder called hemophilia, which basically means I like to describe, Wolverine. Like he heals from everything instantaneously. I'm like the exact opposite of that.
Oh no!
I heal from like nothing, none of the time, without the assistance of like medication. So because of that, and coming from a single mother household, like I had to be like that. I had to know what every which way a scenario can go before I make my decision, so I can know how to get out of it or how I can navigate if something bad goes wrong. So because of that, I think I really resonate with John. And he's also, like you said, military man, and my dad was a career Marine. So I see a lot of my dad in him as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to have that perspective, or to have that varied perspective within the Green Lantern Corps. Everyone brings something different to the table,
Yeah, I think, like for me, just by reading more and more, and like, even just, I wanted to bring up the specific this one page in the book that I literally sent to a bunch of friends when I read it, and it's the one where Sinestro drops the bar, where he is like, it's not like that doesn't make a Green Lantern, like overcoming that fear is what makes it. I feel like that has influenced me in life in general, and made me sort of literally have more willpower. I talked about that with Ken Marion a bit about how like it's crazy how something as simple as willpower, right? That I think goes so underlooked as a concept. And unless you're, if I'm being honest, unless you're like delved into Green Lantern, you don't really think about it much. You don't really think about having strong willpower. And like, sure, you in life, I feel like we talk about like, oh, you got to like push through and like use like the grind set, and like you got to just like, oh, it's part of the motions. But exactly, you got to lock in. Exactly, you got to like lock in. But I feel like, after talking to, so I'm active in the Reddit group, like Green Lantern group, and I one day asked, just like, what does Green Lantern mean to you guys? Like, how has it impacted you? Has it impacted you? And the response and the eclecticity of like, I had one person from the military who said like they were able to connect with John on a level that they weren't able to connect on any other comic book character, because he went through because of what he went through in the military, and because of sort of the effects after that, and him being able to connect with that character. And then other people saying like, it just taught them to just not be scared, even about the little things. So I think and you kind of touched on a little bit about like having to be militant and everything, and so I want to know what Green Lantern has taught you, and like what it's sort of offered, and what's changed maybe, and what sort of going forward from even writing the comic books, what's kind of been instilled in you.
Yeah, I think it's just that like we all have the capability to have willpower.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's what it differentiates us from every other living thing on this planet,
Absolutely.
right? Like, I think, and I think what it is too is it manifests differently in everyone as well. So it's really just digging deep and going for what you want.
Yeah.
But that's different for everybody, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it's something that I think at times it's really interesting to think about, because like me and Jeremy talk about this a lot. That willpower is not really an emotion. It's how you control your emotions.
Yeah.
It's how you control all of your emotions. And I think that's what makes the Green Lantern core, or being a Green Lantern, the cream of the cream, the cream of the top, or whatever.
Right.
It's how do you, it's not that you don't feel everything, it's how do you not let those things take over. And I think we can learn a lot from that just as human beings. Like,
absolutely.
How do you not let the fear take over? How do you not let the anger take over? How do you stay, you know, mentally sound in tough situations?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can imagine in the writing process, like when having to pull things of that power, there might also be some like issues, or not necessarily issues, but like bumps you might have to get over. And so I'm curious to know about maybe any struggles you've had writing the series, or any walls that you might have hit when it comes to, I need to approach this a certain way, I don't know even how to, or even handling things with sort of like a delicate approach, you know?
I think what helps with this is that I'm writing it with Jeremy, and he's such a seasoned vet, you know, and I'm learning so much from him. I think I won't call it like an impediment, but something that took me a minute to really get used to is this is my first time working on an ongoing, and I've done like shorts, like, you know, 6-issue series, 4-issue series up until this point,
right?
And this is just a different beast.
Yeah,
you know, like having such a longer runway is a great thing, because it means you get to have, you know, more character moments and dig deeper into things. But then it's also like, it's easy to get lost in the weeds as well.
Absolutely.
So it's just, you know, always thinking about what's best for the characters, what's best for the story. And just from a insider baseball like point of view too, like working on this, like we work with different artists, we're working with different, we've had some editors changing a little bit as well. So it's just, it's the process of like collaborative storytelling, but like to the nth degree, because there's so many more cooks in the kitchen on a book like this. It's just so much bigger than anything I've worked on. So it took a little bit of time for me to adjust, but like at the end of the day, like I always think of it like whatever problems I'm having, like that arise from me writing comics, like I'm writing comics. So like this is a good problem to have, you know? So, yeah.
And I want to know a little bit more too about like what your just I guess perspective on like such a broad scope of personalities, from Mogo to freaking Lorvox to Kilowog to, you know, Guy Gardner and all the different people. Just what sort of it's like to have those at your kind of hands to kind of play with.
That's the type of stuff that like really whets my appetite. Like I'm all about character work. Like I love everything else too, don't get me wrong. And comics is all about, you know, punchy, stabby and all that. But I really like when we can take a step back and breathe a little bit with the characters and see what's making them tick, and how these things that are happening are affecting them. Like that's a lot. That's what I'm here for. That's what I have the most fun with. Like one of my favorite things that's out so far in these first 3 issues, I think it's in issue 3, is that conversation that John and Hawkwoman are having at the end. That was so much fun to write, because it's just like we're dealing with the things that John is trying to push down, and people are trying to reach out to him, and he's not trying to listen to them. But like that's real. That's what we deal with every day, you know. So that type of stuff is really fun for me.
I think it's so, and just from reading like these 3 issues, it's so clear how much diversity you get in personality and the different perspectives. And like I can't tell you how hard that line from Sinestro hit, like that whole panel, because it really embodied, like you said, like everyone goes through their different struggles different ways, right? And that was the perfect way of showing that, of this big fear construct that I think people can relate to. You know what I mean? Like problems in life sometimes can feel that crazy. And sometimes you need someone like Sinestro to kind of remind you, you know what I mean? That, and maybe not Sinestro himself, but someone outside to, you know, remind you that that it takes some willpower, you know? And I think there's so much power within that. I'm wondering, when it comes to writing itself and like the process of it, I can imagine you kind of have to take yourself to a different place. Because when I'm working on projects or stuff, or when I'm designing, like when I design my Green Lantern suit, I fully like put on a soundtrack. I get the lights green in the room. Like I really try to put myself in a perspective where I can like pull as much inspiration. So what does that look like for you? What is your sort of mentality? Are you transporting to your cosmic place?
Well, I'd say when I'm writing Green Lantern specifically, I got to put on the ring.
Yes, you gotta have the ring.
That willpower.
Yes.
Like writing is such an interesting art form because it is excruciating when you're actually in it. Like I wouldn't necessarily call it fun most of the time.
Yeah, is it intimidating, you should say?
It's intimidating. It's one of those things where it's like you climb to the mountaintop. It's like the myth of Sisyphus, right? You climb to the mountaintop and like you're like, I did it. This is great. Everything should be easier now.
Yeah.
And then you start the next issue and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
And now you're looking up again. yeah.
And it's like pulling teeth, but like I think the magic of it is figuring it out. And I think for me specifically for my writing process is I got to get out of the house. I can't write at home. I can if I absolutely have to.
Right.
But I'm not productive at home.
Yeah.
Because I've got all my distractions there. And even if I'm not like actually, picking up the video game controller or turning on the TV, it's just the fact that it's there.
Yeah.
For some reason clouds my brain. So like I leave the house when I write. I try to make my days writing as close to a 9 to 5 as possible. I go to a cafe and I get there like 8:39. I'm there to like 4:30. And I'm just getting as much out as I can. Most of it, like, as I'm sure you've heard with writers, like, you do a vomit draft, you just get everything out.
Yeah.
And then you trim all the fat in your revisions and stuff like that. So that's what a typical day looks like for me.
I feel like, I've barely ever even written, let alone my high school essays. So I can only imagine that kind of place that you have to get to. But I just think I love talking about the different like personality traits, and I know we've talked about it, throughout this so far. But even things like Jessica's anxiety and those things, I feel like you kind of show a little bit in this, and her stress about being the new leader and all those things. And so I just want to know if you have any connection with that itself, and sort of the anxiety of being in a new position and sort of having a new sort of outlook on things and having to take on a big responsibility.
Absolutely. I think that's a big tendency or mentality a lot of creators have, like even some of the top in the industry. Like there's a level of imposter syndrome always hovering over our heads. Like I don't feel it as much anymore, but like every time I get a new thing that kind of levels me up a little bit, I'm just like, oh, like yes, I'm happy I'm here and I'm glad people are investing in me, but like from a macro perspective, there probably is someone more suited for this job, and I have it now. Like I got to show up, and like that's a lot of pressure. But I think going back to the willpower thing, it's doubling down on what you can do and tuning everything else out.
I feel like that's exactly how I get with my projects too, where I sometimes I'm like, oh, is this going to be good enough? Is this going to be that? And the anxiety turns into fear, and then it literally becomes like, oh, I'm a little too scared to do this, or I'll put that off, or I won't attempt to go to that place or whatever it is. But it goes back to that. It goes back to willpower. And I was just telling my girlfriend the other day about how, like in times of struggle or something, I've found that quite literally just taking a second, taking a breath and looking at the ring and realizing like, okay, just got to push, just got to have that willpower. Like it's so much more effective than people realize.
Absolutely.
And I also just, this one's a random one, but I also just want to know like your maybe potential with the whole show coming out and the whole new rollout of the DCU Lantern kind of thing coming on. Do you have any expectations story-wise that you would like to see, or things that you really want to see explored, or key details that you would love to see addressed?
I think the big thing for me, and I do have faith in James Gunn and what he's doing with all the DC Studio stuff, but I think a lot of comic book adaptations see the potential for the story, but they're afraid of where they come from.
Right.
So I would just say for like, especially for this, like this is such a Green Lantern Corps from someone who doesn't read the comics. Like that's an out there concept. Like, so just don't be afraid of what you're adapting. Like double down. It's okay to see, green, manifested spacesuits.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Stuff like that. And it's a TV show, so I'm sure the budget's going to be different. So we're probably not going to get any crazy constructs, but like, if and when we do, don't be afraid. Like, don't just give us, John manifesting a rifle. Like give us something more creative than that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that constructs too are such a fascinating concept of the Green Lantern world, because it is quite literally a reflection of like your characteristics and your personality. And I think the way that people use them is so different. And
definitely,
it's like you just said, like so often does John Stewart just get stuck with a construct rifle, when in reality people don't know that he's considered the best person to constructing, because he's the most intricate, thinks about things the most full through.
What's tough with that too is like, especially from like writing the script, you don't want to give your artist something like that's so intricate to draw.
You're
that they're gonna want to kill you.
I didn't even think about that too. Just literally depicting all these layers and
we're gonna peel back from this engine and we're gonna see every part of it. Like no, we can't do that.
That's when I was talking to VK and he was telling me that cars. He's like, anything cars with constructs, it's like you got to do the whole thing of it. And it's so
that's
difficult.
So funny. I'm gonna spoil something. I gave VK a car to draw. I didn't know that.
No way. That's hilarious.
When did you interview him?
I interviewed him, I think about 2-3 weeks ago.
He's talking about the car again.
That's amazing.
That's so funny.
Amazing. Yeah. He was like, we were talking about like Rob Liefeld and feet don't go together. And he was like, for me, because I was talking about like the struggles with like things that he runs into, and he was like, cars for me. So that is hysterical. He's gonna be.
That's really funny.
That's amazing.
He knocked it out the park. I've seen it already, so you did a good job.
He did a great one.
Sorry,
That's fantastic. But yeah, I think that there's such a cool aspect to even like the strength within the constructs, right? And like having the willpower. I read in the World War V one where Alfred becomes a Green Lantern, which is so good.
Yeah.
That when he's going up against one of the bad guys, he uses a sword and it just completely falls apart. And it goes to show that, yes, the ring has its power, right? But there is something to being a lantern. And so that brings me to my next question of sort of what you think makes a Green Lantern. And you kind of explored it a little bit in this too, and how John wants to bring people who have just kind of misguided without the willpower and explain those things to them about how that's effective, you know? And there's a lot of definitions about like just being fearless or whatever it is, but it's like you said, like you wrote, it's people who care and are do-gooders and who want to do right by other people.
Yeah, I think it comes back to it's not an oath, but it's usually what either the ring says or the guardian says when they give you the ring, but the ability to overcome, like whatever that is, to overcome, and I think I'll add to consistently overcome. Because I think that's a very uniquely human thing too, where you can, like I talked about before, you can get to the top of that mountaintop, but like that's every day. You gotta, every day when you wake up, you're at the bottom of the mountain again. Right. And it's how do you get back to the top of that mountain? And that's kind of what we're exploring with everything. Like, you know, John's got something going on here that he's kind of ignoring. That's probably gonna, you know, make him at some point gonna get right into his face and make him actually deal with it. We talked about Jess being the leader and having her, you know, consistent anxiety. Like she's overcome so much to get to this point, but like that doesn't mean being an agoraphobic or having anxiety just like stops just because you get better with managing it. You have to get up every day and go through the motions and get out the bed. You know? So, just the ability to overcome consistently.
Right.
Yeah.
I think another one too that I've been, and even your book kind of brought to me too, was teamwork. And playing off of constructs too, it's like, it's so funny to see how sometimes when other Lancers are saving each other's asses, they're using constructs that the other person probably wouldn't have thought of. And I think that's so telling for kind of just life in general, and like how we can get so locked into how we think and how we handle things, and I've done this, so I'm going to use a baseball bat every single time because I use that every time, right? But then comes Hal with a big ass fighter jet, and then you know, it changes the whole thing up. But I just think there's a lot of power in that, and it's really cool to see that different people's, you know, internal perspectives and their own experiences or whatever it is offer these constructs or these solutions rather that the other person might not have thought of. So I love that. I think it's such a cool thing. Yeah, man. So the last kind of little thing that I have is a little review. I've been working for the past I think it's been like 5-6 months now on Jessica Cruz, Hal Jordan, and a Ty Pham cosplay for.
Oh wow! Okay.
I'm doing Hal Jordan, my girlfriend's doing Jessica Cruz, and my little brother's doing Ty Pham. So I wanted to get your little just thoughts
Sure.
on the project so far. We got a couple of the things going on.
That's cool. I wish cosplaying is something I would love to do, but it's such a dedication. Like
it's let me tell you,
and it's hard to have more than one hobby in this economy.
Yes, I know. And I always have people, because I'm a big like superhero comic book nerd, and I always have people telling me like, oh, you gotta, this is crazy. And some people roast me for it. I've never seen Star Wars.
Okay.
And so I know, that is right? Crazy. That's pretty crazy.
At this point, like it's just on all the time.
I know. And every person that tells me, they're like, why? And I'm like, it's one specific reason. Because I know I'd love it, and I know it'd be another fandom, and I gotta buy lightsabers now. I gotta buy this now, and I know that it would just become another loophole.
Disneyland got me a couple years ago on that lightsaber at Disneyland. So expensive, but it was worth it.
All right, so I worked with a modeler from France. His name's Neil Demerville. He did an incredible job taking my sketches and sort of bringing them to life. And one of the biggest things that we wanted to focus on was just the space aspect, the cosmic, the real outworld. So this was the ring that we kind of designed together. It's the one that I'm actually rocking right now.
That's really cool,
So again, just really kind of trying to pull this like other worlds. I keep using the word cosmic because it's exactly what we tried to kind of do.
That's really dope.
Some more views of it. So this one. So I kind of had this idea of doing like a construct bike.
Yeah.
And so I partnered with this company, Mac Fox, who sent me over an e-bike. And what we're doing is took some sketches and we're modeling everything around the bike, and we're going to print it all out and turn it into this sort of real life thing. So it'll be a bunch of fun. Lots of time, and my poor electricity bill is going to be screaming, but it'll be worth it for sure.
Dope.
Just a couple more of the up close details.
Wow.
And then
so the green part for the bike, that's the part you're printing out.
Yes, all the green stuff you see, the weird thing looks like a blob. That's just kind of our render of the bike to get everything snug fit.
Gotcha.
And then then this is the armor kind of startup that I did. So we played around with a couple different ideas. I wanted to go very like militant kind of tech. It's a little more close-ups.
Wow, yeah, that's really cool.
And then I think we got the lantern here. So I designed this lantern. Again, I just really wanted to make something that felt like it would crashed on Earth. And you would be like, wow, this looks like it is not from here.
Yeah.
And then this one was a bunch of fun. I randomly had a dream that Hal or any Green Lantern came down, and I was like, you know what, if on Earth they were like, oh, I'm a space cop, the first question people would ask was, where's your badge? and so I thought of like, oh, we should make a badge that they kind of like I use as a construct. And so I designed this kind of like 2814, got the Hal Jordan down there. Cool. So we'll be printing that out and adding it to the display. And then here is her suit. So
that's nice.
We tried to go with like an armored look and make things look tiny bit more bulky, but it still kind of gives that like sleek, tactical kind of look. And then there's my Hal Jordan.
Wow.
So we got a lot of work, a lot of different things going on, but it was a bunch of fun to do, and Neil absolutely crushed it on the modeling and did an amazing job. So I mean, I after being so inspired by all the stuff that I was reading, I was like, this is definitely the one to do it. This is the project. So I think this is the last one. Wow. So I designed a kind of like a ring holder after the Council of Guardians. So this one's getting made too. I'm working on printing that one
incredible.
out. So just did the whole little set of things around the Green Lantern because I figured it'd be an awesome thing to explore because there's so many possibilities.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. Like everyone is a little different.
Yeah,
like how the suit manifests, how the ring. Everyone's ring is different too.
Exactly, that's what I love about it. Yeah, but
that's great.
And actually, I think we have a little thing for you. My girlfriend's gonna grab it. I spent a little bit of time. The mask from the suit. I made an extra one that I wanted to gift you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
That's really awesome.
So
that's really cool.
A little Green Lantern
Thank you,
mask
man.
for you.
This is
of
great.
Course, dude.
This is gonna make me have to build a suit now.
I know. Now you're like, oh man.
I already got the ring. Now I got a mask.
That's gonna start it. But I just have to say thank you for your contribution to the comics, to doing such an amazing franchise and characters justice that I know I love, and the rest of the world is so excited and so happy to have you doing an amazing job on. So thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
This is fun.
Yeah, man. So go ahead and follow Morgan on Instagram. And is there anything coming up, plug in? What's the newest issue coming up?
what is it? Three's out?
Four.
So
three's out, so four's coming out.
Four's coming out. I don't know what's in the solicitation. So
so you're like, I don't know how much I can say.
Yeah.
Okay. But know that it's coming soon.
Yeah, it's coming.
Know that it's coming soon.
2 weeks from now.
Okay. So that's all.
Yeah, and then I have a John Stewart origin story in the World's Finest Annual that just came out last week.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Amazing stuff, man. Well, thank you so much, guys, for watching. And go ahead and stay tuned for all of the ones that we got coming up, too. And thank you for all your guys' support. All right, man. Thank you, dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah.